even at Chepstow there was trying to sort of almost distracted by the fences on the inside again, over the second last or the last. And I just wondered if they'd consider putting any headgear on, and whether that would possibly bring about some more improvement.
Right, to answer that. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Yeah. I think he'd be too keen in headgear at the moment. He is gets quite keen, maybe for the future, but I think they try all they can to switch him off at the moment. And yeah.
Yes, Belinda. Yeah, no, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, so I think eventually he'll be better over fences, but we'll take all the wins we can on the way over hurdles. And
yeah, that's what I was thinking. He makes some fantastic shape over the hurdles.
Yeah.
You're just thinking, blimey, is he going to be better chasing than over hurdles? Well, I don't want to. I'm getting a nosebleed, to be honest with you. So much the same as the other guys earlier, where we feel completely privileged to have the winners that we are at the moment. And thank you again to everybody who's involved down there. It's fabulous. I'm absolutely delighted.
It's a pleasure. So exciting. And I know Ernie absolutely adores witness protection. She really, really does. And we were all excited. You probably heard me and the boys shouting from home when he won the other day. It was brilliant. Really, really thrilled for you all.
Yeah, I don't want to hog the mic, so I'm going to get off, but I'm just keen on
nice
where we're going. That's all I want to know. I'm getting dead excited. Sorry.
Well, thanks, Simon. That's brilliant. And Belinda, great of you to join us. So thank you very much. By popular demand, I should say. I mean, the first person to ever make 2 appearances on our Foxtrot forum. So thanks for giving up your evening. Or have you got Martin putting the boys to bed? Is that what this is really about?
No, I think he's race planning and doing all that sort of thing. And the boys were on their Xbox. They've been told to be quiet.
So just before we, it's about witness protection, obviously, how sort of lockdown been for you, and how are you finding things at the moment? Are you homeschooling? Are you juggling lots of things? How is life?
Yeah, I'm juggling lots of things. I hope your invoices are right at the end of the month. I'm doing my best. Luckily Freddie this time's online schooling, which is quite tough for him, but he's really applied himself, thank goodness. It's probably too cold and the horses are too fit and well for him to ride out. So he's luckily working hard. I'm quite hands-on with Harry, but I'm trying not to beat myself up, and we do as much as we can. And, life does go on, and I just really trying to have happy children rather than stressed out mum and family being stressed out because I'm stressed out. So that's all fine. I'm managing to ride 2 lots before I come back and become a teacher. And the team are all getting along. It's very weird not having visitors, because as you know, we love having visitors. We're very much open house policy. So quite often people will pop in, and we love that, and we love showing them around. That's weird, being very, very quiet. But yeah, the yard is just working as hard as normal. It's weird not seeing you all at the races as well. I find that very bizarre. But hopefully we try and make the experience as good as we can and take as many videos and day to day, but at the races as well. Try and make it as the best job we can for you all. I think that's all we can all do, really, isn't it?
Well, we've seen some fantastic videos, and I know we've shared some of those both with the syndicate members, but also on some of our weekly updates that we send out on a Sunday evening, and they've been fantastic to watch. And one of the things, particularly when the snow was down, that really came across was, it looked pretty cold on your gallops. The snow's coming down, and it looked pretty dark. I mean, just what is it really like to be training horses in the middle of winter? What sort of problems do you come across?
Yeah, it is. It's very cold up here, which is good for hopefully getting rid of the bugs all the time. But for the team, Martin often makes first lot half an hour later, so that the team are getting into muck out half an hour later. Hopefully it's still dark when they come in, but they know that they can, you know, drive a little bit slower and give them a bit more time. It's lighter when we pull out then first lot, but all things from frozen taps and they have to think ahead the night before and salt the yard and do all those sorts of jobs. Martin loves rugging his horses up well, so he's always constantly talking how many rugs, and he does his like late night feeds most nights. Martin does, so he checks them all. And yeah, they've just been brilliant. I've actually worked out we've got a brand new lorry this week, which is very exciting, and I was redoing the insurance and working out how many people under 25 we've got, and we've actually only got 2 members of the team, and they both turned 25 this year. So it's just that as it happened, you know, we would love to have younger members to bring along as well, but at the minute we've just got a very mature, fantastic team of lovely riders that have got a wealth of experience. So we're really fortunate, and no one's not been in over the winter, and they're all smiling. I know everyone likes to say they've got a happy team, but I genuinely think we've just got the happiest team we've got, and they just all pull together. And when it's this cold, Martin often lets them go early, you know, as soon as their jobs are done, if it's an hour early, you know, it's brilliant. It just helps with morale and helps keep them a happy team, because there will be times, I'm sure, when we need them to work a little bit later. And so all we can do to keep them sweet and, you know, allow them to enjoy their jobs, the better.
Well, I certainly think whenever we come to the yard, it's always very clear that you do have a very happy but also very hard-working team. And you know, I think it's great to know that our horses have been so well looked after and given such care. And I suppose during these COVID sort of times, actually that social ability of people to come to work and actually see other people, for some of them is going to be very important. And I'm sure you're having to do a lot of sort of work at the moment in terms of just looking after your staff as much as employing them.
Yes, it's tough, and it's, you know, keeping them all safe, keeping them, you know, ensuring that we've opened up sort of our owner's room and our owner's kitchen so that they can all have their breaks. We've managed to keep, you know, 2 of them at a time, 2 of them in the owner's room, 2 of them in the kitchen, just so that they don't have to go and sit in their cars. We're trying to stagger breaks a bit, but that's not always easy because they're coming off third lot and they all obviously want a coffee. So we're just opening up those extra rooms and trying to stagger being in the tack room, and just that, I'm sure that helps having mature people that understand the worries of COVID as well. I'm sure that helps us. But yeah, we just keep thinking and all we can do to keep them safe, and also keep us going as a business, because we did have 10 days where we had to self-isolate some of the team, and one of our team managed to unfortunately get COVID, but he luckily was okay. And that was managing that, you know, I got in touch with Dr. Jerry Hill at the Jockey Club, and he was amazing, and we just wanted to ensure that we did everything properly and kept everybody safe. So the BHA, for all their knocking, and also the National Trainers Federation, we're so lucky to have them in a crisis. Whenever you want help, you know, they're all so happy to help you. You've just got to ask.
Well, in a second, I'm going to ask if anyone's got any questions for Belinda. I'm sure she'd be very happy to answer a question on anything. Luckily, Belinda, we don't have any pictures of you on camels this time. But we do have a pic. No, I'm just joking. I know you're a bit nervous about that. So, but anyway, what I did want to ask you about, of course, is witness protection, and sort of what are our future plans for him going forward?
Well, I've had a chat with the trainer, and he's very keen on running him at Festival Trials Day at Cheltenham at the end of the month. One of the races that I know he's potentially being aimed at is the Steel Plate and Sections handicap hurdle, a race that we've been lucky enough to win twice. Solstice Star won it before you guys got involved with him quite a few years ago, and was a good winner there. And Back on the Lash last January was when life was still normal, was a brilliant winner, and he is fantastic. In fact, he's on the back of our new lorry, the picture of him after he won at Cheltenham. So I know that's a race that Martin likes to target. And wouldn't it be great to get another one on our winners board as you walk into our yard next time? But there's also apparently the prospect of the Grade 2 Ballymore novices hurdle as well. He's going to have an entry in that. So I guess you and Martin will have lots of chats in the few days leading up to it.
Well, Martin's done pretty well with his placement so far, so I don't think I'll be arguing too much with him, if I'm honest. But well, those sound very exciting, and I think a little bit like we were talking earlier about one of our other mares, Anything for Love. You know, when they've won sort of a couple of races, I just feel sort of the pressure's off a little bit, and you can aim a bit higher and hopefully go to some bigger meetings and give it a go and feel at least the pressure's a little bit off.
Well, that's what we did with Back on the Lash, really. I mean, he was just, you know, Martin hoped he was going to improve, and gosh, he quite fancied him. But I know I was saying to a few people on the day, oh, we'd love him to run into a place, and he won well. So yeah, you've just got to go for it. I think that sometimes Martin's been a bit braver and run a few horses at Cheltenham, and we've managed to hit the target just being a bit brave. We've had Bobble Emerald at 33-1. He had an option at Ludlow the week before. Well, thank goodness we went to Cheltenham, and they can now say they're Cheltenham winning owners. It's just, and out of the 20 winners we've had, some of them have been, let's just go for it. We're having a good season, horse in good form, and they've managed to have a day they will never forget. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Well, lots to look forward to with him. And has anyone got any questions that they'd like to ask Belinda? You can do that you can wave if you're on video, or if you go to the bottom of your screen, you can use the reactions tab. Let's go over to Phil Chappell, who's Belinda got a question for you.
Hi Belinda, just checking up on Solstice Star really. How's he done after his operation, and when can we expect him back on the racecourse?
Oh, hi there. Yes, he's come out of his operation really well. He gets turned out in the day and comes in overnight, so it's nice he hasn't been going out when it's been horrible weather, but he's been going out. He can be back ridden in about 3 weeks. So Martin hopes that 4 weeks off, he was fit going into it. He hopes that won't take much out of him, and hopes that maybe we could see him back on the race course towards the end of March. And have
a certain race at Uttoxeter.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where he's aiming at, but I know that towards the end of March would be, so that was an exciting day, that day last year.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
But he's such a star, and he really is one of all of our favourites. He can pull a few faces in this stable, but when you get to him and pat him, he doesn't really mean it, and he's just such a lovely horse to have around. We're so lucky to have him.
Thank you.
Whereas Witness Protection is the huggiest, loveliest. Ernie would stay and hug him all night, I think, if she could. So yeah, two lovely horses.
Was it anyone else got a question they'd like to fire at Belinda? Just having a look round. Simon, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry. Would you consider he's tended to front run previously or sit just off the pace? If you were going up in trip, possibly, would you try different tactics and possibly sit him out the back?
Luckily, that's another dilemma for Martin. I would guess they possibly would. That would suggest it to me, but he does love going out in front. So I generally races Martin looks to see if anybody's going to front run. Sometimes you can get a soft lead, stepping up in track.
I'm just going to ask who does all of it.
If they get a soft lead, they can still win from the front. So that's usually something Martin studies in the couple of days now with 48-hour decks before the race, who he thinks is going to possibly make the running, and whether he needs to drop them out or where they need to be. I know Dan likes them on the inner, 2 or 3 off the pace. So yes, that's
how do you know that? I don't think I've ever said that, have I? Before every race, we are going to go on the inner 2 or 3 behind the lead, aren't we? So,
I hate them on the inner. I want them outside. But I luckily don't ever have an opinion, or not one that's listened to.
And then there's the other thing. If he was to do well in the Cheltenham trials, what happens then?
We maybe dream even bigger, do we? Dan, what happens then?
we get very drunk on champagne and we worry about it in the morning.
Right, okay.
We worry about the hangover the next morning.
One step at a time then. Okay, thank you, sorry. Getting excited, no apologies.
I think I think it's a good point, but I think he'll make a lovely chaser, and I think anything we get this season we really see as a bonus, and I think we'd aim high with him, because why not? He's probably going to go chasing next season, so let's dream high, but let's take one race at a time and see where we end up, because it's difficult to know how well he handicapped these horses are when they've been competing in novices. So let's have a look, see where we are, and then we can enjoy, as footballers might say, one game at a time.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I mean, considering that we even got back onto the race course was a blessing in disguise in the first place. So, and it's testament to what you've done with the horse as well, and how much time you've taken over it. So, even just to get back on the race course, I was chuffed with, and to start and to even consider winning, and the Stratford. I mean, when they came around the bend at Stratford, it's every owner's dream to say, and as they come up alongside and sort of say, go on and clear off. And he did. And I was like, that, God, never have that feeling again. So thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's get one more question for Belinda. And Ray and Maggie, you've got a question to ask.
Well, hi, Belinda. It's a fun question, really. Who's the film enthusiast and who selects the music that accompanies these film clips we see?
Well, amazingly, Martin does all the filming. It's his, and he actually chooses all the music. So I don't know how he has time to do it all. Quite often we don't see a lot of him on an evening because we've now got him some headphones, because when he was editing in the summer and he was doing his really long videos in the summer, by the end of it, by the time he shared the video, we hated the song because we heard it all day every day. So Freddie said he's ruined some songs for him for life because we heard it constantly. I have to give Martin all the credit. He's got quite a good eye for where to go and take films and what to do. So he does that all himself.
Yeah, it certainly enhances the viewing.
Oh, good. Well, we just thought it was the least we could do, and sometimes if it's an awful song that I don't like, he does listen to me, but generally it's good.
Yeah, you have the odd conversation about it. Yeah, okay. Thanks for that.
It's all right.
There's a fantastic video on our YouTube channel, if you've not already seen it, of witness protection relaxing in the field, if that's the right term to use. And if there's ever an example of a happy horse, this video, which is probably about 45 seconds long, is well worth watching. Witness protection, clearly a very happy horse. And I think one thing we know about the Keighley yard is they have very happy staff and a very happy trainer's wife. So Belinda, thank you very much indeed for joining us again, and we'll let you get back and get everyone to bed, and up early, no doubt, in the cold tomorrow, riding out again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and we can't wait to welcome you all back to the yard. So take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much to Belinda for joining us. Really great of her to give up her time. I know extremely busy at the moment, so really do appreciate Belinda giving up her time this evening. So fantastic win by Witness Protection. And we said we'd talk about some novices this evening. And of course, another novice hurdler that we need to talk about is Here Comes Johnny. So he's been in tremendous form this season, winning with a £14 penalty last week. And I thought what we might do is just go back and have a little look and remind ourselves about that win.
pushed along. Sheila's Spirit in the green and yellow jacket out wide, still just about in touch at 3 out. Tallow for Coal and Sublime Heights 1 and 2 there from Coral Lad. They're tracked through by Here Comes Johnny on the inside of Bannockstown Boy, and these 5 just breaking clear of the others as they round the bottom turn. Back in the field then is Clongos, the early leader, Love You to the Moon, now steadily fading from Sheila's Spirit. Rounding the turn, Sublime Heights round the inside of Tallow for Coal, and Sublime Heights goes a half length up from Tallow for Coal. Here comes Johnny in third, looking a little bit disorganised round the turn there, and they're followed by Bannockstown Boy over the second last. Now Here Comes Johnny is coming through very strongly, having looked a bit unbalanced turning in, and forges on. Here comes Johnny and Lewis Stones going to the last and safely over. Picked up much the best there, Here Comes Johnny, and is now stretching right away from Sublime Heights and Tallow for Coal and racing up towards the line. Here Comes Johnny under a big penalty, goes on to win. From in second, Sublime Heights, who ran promisingly, Tallow for Coal in third, and fourth, Bannockstown Boy.
Well, I hope you enjoyed watching that, in particular, I think, for the Here Comes Johnny Syndicate. Always enjoyable to see a horse win in such fantastic fashion. So Ollie Murphy is going to be joining us very, very shortly, so we'll be catching up with him in a few minutes. But just gives us a little bit of time to hear from any of the Here Comes Johnny Syndicate. So I think one thing I would just say is the horses that we've spoken about this evening, the 3 horses we've looked at sort of in detail, both really cheap buys. I mean, obviously Anything for Love's on a free lease. Here Comes Johnny cost £20,000 and Witness Protection was £21,000. And I think it shows that you can get good quality horses spending the sort of money that we are. We don't need to go and buy a point-to-point winner from Ireland that's going to cost us £100,000. So well done to everyone that's been involved in getting these horses into Foxtrot colours. So let's hear from some of the Here Comes Johnny Syndicate, and just give me a wave or use the buttons at the bottom of your screen, the reaction buttons, to let me know if you'd like to talk. But let's hear from a couple of the syndicate before we hear from Ollie Murphy. So anyone like to turn a thing about Here Comes Johnny? Deborah Clayton, let's hear from you. Thank you for rescuing us from the silence.
Well, I've been trying not to talk, as most of you know, I talk a lot. But no, I feel very much like Simon and others. I'm in Here Comes Johnny and Witness Protection. And if Joe had a way, I'd have been in Anything for Love as well. I missed out on that one. But I thought he's been amazing. And as you know, I didn't particularly want to go in him in the beginning. I thought I had enough. I think Ollie's done an absolutely great job with him. And I think he's an amazing horse, to be honest with you. It's the way he finishes off his races that is so impressive. You know, it's almost as if they press the switch, off he goes. And so far, it hasn't seemed to matter who's on him, you know. I thought he was very impressive with that win. And thank you. You know, and I think all of us in the syndicate would say that, you know. So that's all I was going to say, really.
I think your point about jockeys is a really good one, because he's had some pretty inexperienced jockeys on, which has been, in fairness, you know, Ollie's done a great job in recommending these jockeys to us, and of course they come with a weight allowance. But nevertheless, getting a conditional that's a quality conditional or amateur, as we had with James King, is really tremendous and does make a difference. So I think well done to Ollie Murphy on getting some very high quality conditional jockeys on board, because but well done to the horse as well, because undoubtedly it's a little bit harder for a novice to come and win his races when he doesn't have so much experience in the saddle. But Deborah, thank you very much for that. Very good point. Anyone else, just before we get Ollie to join us from the Here Comes Johnny Syndicate? John.
Yeah, hi. I thought it was interesting. I watched the race on TV, obviously, like most of us. And Mick Fitzgerald was very fulsome in his praise, wasn't he? And talking about his slick jumping. Which really was all the way around, wasn't he? But I mean, like Deborah just now, I mean, I'm totally impressed by the amount of speed he shows at the end of races. You know, I don't know how long that can continue. I mean, you know, you're always expecting something else to sort of come along behind him, but so far he's not been challenged really, has he? In the hurdles races anyway.
Well, his only defeat, John, came really where he was very unlucky and sort of stumbled, probably put his foot in a hole. And at the time, we said, let's just put a line through that. And I think we were proved right, because without doubt, obviously he came out next time and did it very, very impressively indeed. So, John, you're absolutely right. And John, by the way, next time you join a syndicate, could you just let everyone know so that we can all get involved in it? That would be great. Brilliant. Well, I'm not sure if Ollie is with us, because sometimes names don't appear. So let me just see if you're due to join us.
I am indeed, guys.
You are. Brilliant. Great. Ollie, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Pleasure.
I don't know if you heard the comments there. I know I told you to log in at 1:45, so you may have missed it. But everyone full of praise for the trainer.
Well, yeah, it's a rarity, isn't it? But no, listen, he's been a star for us, hasn't he? I think as a team we've placed him well, and we've had an awful lot of fun with him today. And please God, there's a lot of fun still to be had, because I think he's going to make the most lovely chaser next year.
And overall, Ollie must be delighted with the way the yard is. I mean, the horses seem to be flying at the moment.
Yeah, they're in good nick. We had a couple of winners today in Wincanton as well. So the bandwagon kind of keeps rolling, as they say. But I suppose for our standards, we had a quiet enough time post-Christmas. Had a bit of bad luck, and had a lot of horses finishing second and third, which was frustrating. And there was nothing the matter with them. I just probably wasn't getting the rub of the green a lot of the time. We've had 63 seconds this season already. So if you turn 15 them into winners or 10 them into winners, all of a sudden it's a different kettle of fish again. But yeah, they're in good nick. And I always think from January the 1st, you're halfway through the season, and listen, we've still got a lot of the season to go, and plenty of the big festivals upon us.
Well, in a second, we'll ask if anyone's got any questions for Ollie. But just before that, I've got a couple of my own. And one thing, obviously, our horse has now gone up to a rating of sort of 132. I think it was 127 before. Is that sort of what you'd anticipated, Ollie, a sort of mark of 132?
I actually, to tell you God's honest truth, I thought we were going to get more of a slap on the wrist from Plumpton than we actually got. So I was pleasantly surprised to hear that we only got £5. But yeah, I think at the start of the year, if we thought we were going to have a 132 rated hurdler and hit a 1-3 novice hurdles, would have all probably laughed at each other and chopped each other's hands off. But hopefully now for the rest of the season, he might give us a few nice days out and take us a few places. And it'd just be great if we could get back on a race course to see him run.
So let's just talk about those plans. So obviously, presumably next season we'll go novice chasing, is that right? And then this season we'll aim him for some nice handicap races and hopefully enjoy some running of some sort of prestigious meetings.
Yeah, no, 100%. He's obviously going to be a lovely chaser for next year. He's very exuberant at his hurdles. I think a fence is really going to make him. So whatever he has done this year, I actually think it's going to be a bonus, as daft as it sounds. But for what the rest of the year holds, we've got a few options. There's a grade 2 at Huntingdon on the 11th of February, over 2.5 miles. I actually think it'd suit him really well. A flat track over 2.5 miles where the ground doesn't usually get too soft at Huntingdon, albeit, listen, it'll be a very, very competitive race. But I certainly think it's worth an entry. We've got another option if we're going to be greedy, as in look for another win under a triple penalty. And obviously he's been a horse who's got on well with 2 claimers before, and I don't see any reason why taking another £7 of his back with another penalty. I think it is still won in Plumpton the last day had he had another £7 in his back. So that's another option. One thing I'm very keen to avoid is extremely heavy ground. He's such a good moving horse. I do think the better the ground, the better he's going to be. So I'd love to think that we're going to have a horse we can have some fun with in the spring. And if we're lucky enough to get him up another £4 or £5 or £6 in the handicap, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of having a day out in Cheltenham on the Friday Gold Cup day and have an entry in the conditional jockeys race, where I think a fastly run race will suit him well, where he can come off a strong pace. Listen, I'm not saying he'd be well enough handicapped to win a race like that, but I certainly don't think he'd disrespect himself, and I think he'd run very respectable. And then we've obviously got something like Aintree to look at, and Air and things like that. He's won his 3 races now. Listen, if, as all you guys are aware, if a horse can win a race a season, it's great, let alone 3. So I think he's certainly a horse we can kind of just enjoy, win, lose or draw for the rest of the year. And for a horse that what he cost and the journey he's taking us on, we can go to a festival and gonna hopefully have a great day out where a few of us might be able to go back racing.
Well, lots of exciting plans. And Ollie, can I pick your brains for a second on penalties? So in effect, class 4 novice hurdles, we'd get a £7 penalty for winning, a £14 penalty for winning twice. What happens if you won 3? Does it just keep going up?
There's different regimes, and different races have kind of different strategies to it. So that's where me as a trainer has to be quite clever and find a certain novice hurdle where penalties aren't as extreme. Usually the better quality novice hurdle you're running in, the lesser the penalty. The worse the track, the bigger the penalty, if you know what I mean. So it just can avoid a good horse going to a bad track and being able to mop up prizes. So yeah, good question. But yeah, penalties do fluctuate, and it's my job just to find a race we're going to go down that route where the penalties wouldn't be as fierce.
Great. Well, in a second, we're going to ask if anyone's got any questions, and I'm sure there'll be lots, particularly about perhaps your background and working with Gordon Elliott. But let's just talk about our new horse, which is all sold out. So all the shares went very quickly again, so that's great. But Ollie, let's just talk about Best Tritian, who obviously you've picked up from Ireland and recommended to Foxtrot. And just tell us a little bit about what drew you to the horse and why you think he might be a good addition to running Foxtrot colours.
Yeah, very, very simple, really. I've been very lucky buying off Alan Ahern, who actually we bought Here Comes Johnny off. I have a very close relationship with Jamie Codd, someone I got on very, very well with when I spent my time in Ireland with Gordon Elliott. And he's helped me a huge amount buying horses off the point-to-point field. And he's rode him on his last start, and he recommended that he was a horse that would certainly do a job in England, and he thought he'd be a nice chaser in time. And he's actually, and listen, don't for a second think that he's going to be better than Here Comes Johnny, but his point-to-point rating is higher than Here Comes Johnny's rating was when we bought him. He's coming out the same outfit, and Alan Ahern isn't a bad trainer by any stretch of the imagination, but some people you're lucky buying horses off and some people you're not. And I bought Here Comes Johnny and a very, very smart horse of JP McManus is called Notre Paris off Alan. And when you're lucky out of a hotel, you tend to go back, and someone I trust, and Alan recommended the horse as well. And he actually arrived this morning. He was meant to be with me 10 to 14 days ago, but the disaster in trying to get horses over from Ireland at the moment with the whole Brexit thing has been an absolute nightmare. So yeah, he arrived this morning. He's had a quiet 10 days or a fortnight in Ireland, and we'll look forward to putting a saddle on his back tomorrow and getting to know him.
And I think we talked about, and obviously that delay in a way is no bad thing. It gives him a little bit of a break, and then allows you really to crack on with him. And the plan, I think, is to get going with him when we can. Look for a sort of novice hurdle. Is that right?
100%. He's obviously a horse who's just turned 6, so he's the same age as Here Comes Johnny. He's yet to run under rules, but he's kind of working the house down. I think being a 6-year-old, we're probably best off going on and running him over hurdles and cracking on with him. He obviously jumps well. He's come off the point-to-point field, and he's one to look forward to. He's got plenty of size and scope about him. He's probably a little bit bigger than Here Comes Johnny now. So yeah, his form's worked out well, and I thought he improved with each run. It was a real eye-catching run. His last run, the video, he stayed going very well now from the back of the second last fence, and yeah, he's certainly one to look forward to, and hopefully he'll kind of do everyone proud and yeah, keep the Foxtrot colours flying high.
Brilliant. Well, just to finish off with then, has anyone got any questions, a chance to ask Ollie Murphy a question? And just give me a wave, or use the button at the bottom of your screen, the reaction button. You can signal to me through that, and we'll try and get you on to ask Ollie a question. I'm just looking to see if anyone's waving at me, but I can't see anyone at the moment. This is a unique chance to ask Ollie Murphy a question. Well, let me ask you one, Ollie, very quickly. Give us a couple of horses that we ought to be following in the spring out of your yard.
Good question. Yeah, a very good question. I actually ran a horse yesterday at Newbury. I think it's very, very well handicapped. He hated the ground, called Gunsight Ridge. He was second first run the handicap yesterday. I'd just love to think I might win with him somewhere in the next 6 weeks, and I'll protect his mark and go entry with him. He won't have a mark hard enough to get into a handicap in Cheltenham, but yeah, he's certainly one to look forward to. I've a nice bumper horse to run of Max McNeil's in the next fortnight or 3 weeks, called Thunder Rock. I thought he'd take a little bit of beating wherever he goes the next day. Christ, I've so many unraced bumper horses to run, guys. In the next, I've probably 25 unraced bumper horses to run between now and the end of the season. So there's an awful lot of them to pick from. But I'm just trying to think of one unraced horse. There's a horse called Go Dante. He's owned by Barbara Hester. He's by Cave Tara. I think he could be one of the nicer bumper horses to run for the rest of the year.
So for everyone just writing that down, just give us that name again, Ollie.
Sorry, Go Dante. Go as in G-O, and then Dante, D-A-N-T-E. He's a lovely horse. He cost a few pounds now, but hopefully he'll end up being well bought. He does everything very nicely.
What I love, Ollie, is when he started talking about potential horse in the yard, he sort of did a bit of a whisper. You know, you started whispering as if it was sort of you and me. You're just giving me a little insight there. So, brilliant.
So yeah, no, there's plenty to look forward to. There's still a lot of racing left, and please God, we can all carry on kind of either watching racing or training horses or riding them if you're a jockey. It's just so important that we can stay going now for the next 3 or 4 months.
Well, we obviously wish you the very best of luck with all your horses, and great that you've got such a strong string. So let's take a couple of questions to finish off with from the Foxtrot members. So just give me a wave if you'd like to ask a question, and let's see who we've got. Is that I can't say Steve Duke? Is that you? Yes. Hi there. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Very good, thank you. You've got a question for Ollie?
Yeah, Julie's that's just my stage name. It's my first time as a member with Foxtrot, as you know. So I've been very lucky in my first horse with Ollie as well. So it's brilliant to see how well Johnny's been doing. Certainly seems like a hold-up horse. The way he finishes is just, as the guys said earlier, that speed is great to see. We was at Fakenham and we saw him coming round the bend. And it did put hairs in the back of your head. So yeah, it's great to see. Initially, as I said to you before, I thought that he will show much speed. We wanted to bring him back in distance, but now I've completely changed my mind. I think 2 miles, 4, 5, even 3 miles. The way that he travels in his races, I don't know what Ollie thinks, but he just seems to travel so well. And with that kick at the end, it's brilliant. The only worry I would be this year is there a chance we may be over racing him if we run him too often this year? So that would be my only question.
Yeah, we haven't spared him is the wrong way to put it, but he's been a very, very straightforward horse to train, and he's never really, I suppose after Bangor we gave him a little bit of a break. We gave him 6 weeks until we went to Plumpton, but he's been very straightforward, and arguably his Plumpton run was his best run to date, and it was his 5th run of the season or 6th run of the season. So listen, we'll mind him. I'd imagine he'll probably have 3 more runs between now and the end of the season. But touchwood, he's a very, very straightforward horse to train. And I agree with you. I thought bringing him back to 2 miles at Bangor, the way he travelled at Sedgefield, was the right thing to do. But he likes coming off a strong pace. There'll be one day that I'll be telling you guys kind of sorry we got it wrong, or we hit a bit of traffic and a bit of trouble in running. But he loves finding trouble. He loves being held up. He loves the bit being up in his mouth, and he's a very, very strong traveller. And that's just why I think in a better race, when they go very hard, you'll be able to ride him very patiently and come there with one run and use his turn of foot from kind of the back of the last of the line. But the one day James won on him in Sedgefield, listen, he didn't give him a bad ride by any stretch of the imagination. But if he was to ride him again, I'd say he'd have loved to have held on to him for another furlong. But he obviously didn't know the horse at the time, and he kind of sent him on coming down the hill. But he's a horse who's probably got a furlong and a half or 2 furlong of boot in his belly, and you've just got to use that to kind of your best effect.
Thanks, Ollie.
Well, we've got another question from Rachel. Rachel, we just can't hear you. Oh, there we are. Brilliant.
That's better, isn't it? Ollie mentioned about the problems bringing the horse over from Ireland, and I just wondered if you could elaborate a bit. Is it paperwork due to Brexit, or is it the COVID regulations, or a bit of both?
It's a little bit of both, but the majority of it is the problem with Brexit. The cost of them trying to get horses over and the VAT they're trying to put on, and it's just a complete mess at the moment. A lot of these big transport companies have closed down, and with the COVID regulations, we weren't able to send people over to Ireland to collect them. So it's just been a complete nightmare. And I was just trying to do it in the same as everyone, the cheapest way possible. And if it was the sake of waiting a week or 10 days, we were going to try and save a few pounds for everyone by getting them over 10 days later. But yeah, it's been extremely messy. And God knows kind of what these transport companies are doing. Else we're absolutely ripping their hair out, because they haven't. The first lorries came over from Ireland on Monday. So yeah, it's been very, very messy.
So we've got a thanks, Rachel, for your question. And I've got a question. I think the video's just gone off, but it's down iPad 5. So if you're iPad 5, oh, your video's just come back up, but I can't tell who it is. Have you got a question for Ollie? No, I think we've disappeared again. Anyone else got a question for Ollie just before we finish off? Having a little look through, I can't see anyone else waving at me. No one else has got a hand up. Ollie, you might be off the hook here, I think. Let's just see. Oh, John Holton, you've saved us. One last question then from John. Thank you.
It's a question about Here Comes Johnny. He has a high head carriage, which seems to get more pronounced towards the end of his races, but he's totally genuine. Is that just a trait? Is that unusual?
I think it's just the way he's made up, John, because he's a little bit the same at home as well. It might be in time something I might just get his wind checked maybe in the summer just to check that something's not catching him. But he seems a very clear-winded horse, and he's very straightforward to train. If he wasn't winning, I'm sure a few people would be saying he might be ungenuine, but he's certainly not that. But yeah, you're dead right. He has got a high head carriage, and I think it's just the way he's made up.
I will say one thing about him as well. He's about the slickest novice hurdler I've seen all season as well.
He is, isn't he? And do you know what? If we go to Huntingdon, we'll obviously be taking on all the big boys there. And as I said, he doesn't really owe us a lot this year. But I'd be really, really interested now to run him in a good race and drop him in and take our time and ride him very cold, and just see him in a nice race and just see kind of where we stand. I've no doubt he'll be able to win handicaps down the line, but it might be very interesting running him in a graded race and just seeing kind of how the land lies, running him against better opposition.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for your question, John. And Ollie, thank you very much indeed for joining us and telling us about the yard, and obviously an update on Here Comes Johnny. It's been great for you to join us and give up your time this evening. Final sort of question, I suppose, is does the lockdown make much difference to you in terms of the yard and what's happening? Obviously, fewer visitors, I suppose, but generally, are you able to get on with things as normal?
Yeah, we are. We're obviously tight on kind of who's coming in and out of the place, and we have to be very careful. There's temperature checks. It's made life difficult for everyone. Obviously, many of us have got parents that are vulnerable or elderly relatives or this or that, so everyone has to be very careful. So yeah, listen, we've just been careful, but we're still pulling out at 7 o'clock and we're out there at 12 o'clock and going racing as usual. But it's very, very strange, especially when you're having a winner and there's no one there to clap your horse in. You've got no owners to see or anything like that. It's very surreal. And I think from owners to jockeys, trainers, punters, whoever kind of you may be, you'll really, really appreciate horse racing once we're back rocking and rolling again. And I know we all do appreciate a winner, but I think it'll make it kind of all the better once we're all back on the racetrack.
Absolutely. Well, I think we'd all very much agree with that. So, Ollie, thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you for all your hard work with our horses now this season. Really is appreciated. All the videos you send are fantastic and very much appreciated by everyone. So, Ollie, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure, guys, and we'll look forward to seeing you all soon. And thanks very much for all your support. And fingers crossed we'll be back in the winners' enclosure before too long. Good night. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Great. Well, terrific to hear from Ollie Murphy. And finally then, just to say a big thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. We've managed to reach 100 people that have joined us this evening, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you very much. I know we focused on sort of 3 horses mainly this evening, but that's inevitable, I think, when we've not done a forum for a little while. And the next forum is going to be in 2 weeks' time. Next Thursday evening, I am doing a Scouts session with my 6-year-old Toby. So we'll avoid next Thursday. But in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back and hopefully we'll have a few more winners to review, but certainly a few more runners if the weather gets better. And in the meantime, wish you all the very best. Stay dry, and thank you again for joining us this evening.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Bye. Cheerio.
Very good.